Guys, I want to thank everyone who's been putting up with my extremely long videos and watching them and rating them and commenting them. And, I enjoy everyone's comments, and I've been responding to everyone's comments as I can. And I just wanted to address a couple of points that have come up and that people ask me a lot. Uh, First, let me say that my wax produces a load that will not slip out of the shotgun shell hull. You don't have to worry about squibs. You don't have to worry about loose loads. You don't have to worry about a load slipping down your barrel and creating a catastrophic failure from an overpressure in the chamber. Uh, there's another question people ask about is residue. Does it foul the breech? Does it foul the bore? Not exactly sure where that originated, where that idea that waxers would mess up your shotgun originated, but um, the the load is contained in a plastic cup. It's the same plastic cup that propels the shot out of the barrel. Um, there is perhaps an eighth of an inch, if that, of wax that is making contact with your barrel, and if anything, it's polishing it and cleaning it and making it even shinier, at least from what I can tell. I have never seen any kind of residue whatsoever. I mean, you'd probably more likely have plastic residue. Like, I just shot 150 rounds rapidly, like one shot after another, as fast as I could load, and the barrel was obviously smoking hot. So, the thing that would be leaving residue would be the plastic cup if it were to be uh, in contact with something hot enough to actually melt it. Um, I don't think that the plastic that's in the shotgun shells has a low enough melt point to leave any kind of plastic residue behind. I've never seen any plastic residue in my shotgun, even though I have many times shot a lot of rounds, one right after another. I've shot, uh, I think this might be the most I've ever shot at one go, that short a period of time, about 175 rounds I think I shot today. This was as fast as I could. I have shot about 100 before. Um, Definitely shot 50, 60 rounds, one right after another before. I've never seen any kind of residue in the barrel at all. If anything, the barrel is clean as a whistle. Um, and I had another question, which it's a relevant question. Is can you run these through a magazine-fed shotgun? I don't have a magazine-fed shotgun, and the only way I can answer that is if somebody with a magazine-fed shotgun just sends it my way. I'll be glad to test it for you. And it may take quite a while to do these tests. I may have to keep your shotgun for several years, but at the end of the test, I will send it back to you, and I'll give you a full report. Um, no, seriously though, guys, if it works out of a pump shotgun, I can't see why it wouldn't work out of a magazine-fed shotgun. Um, I can't see any part of a magazine getting hot enough to affect the wax. The only part of the magazine that's in contact with the gun is clipped into the receiver. The shells are being pushed forward out of the magazine and into the chamber. Um, I don't see any part of the magazine being in contact with anything hot. If the receiver is at 175 degrees, you must be in one of the lower levels of hell fighting demons. And at that point, you probably don't want waxers. You probably want Brennicky black magic slugs for maximum penetration, so you can go through as many demons as possible. Try and line up the demons, position yourself so there's like maybe 4 or 5 demons, all kind of stacked up so you could take them all down at once, and it'd be more efficient. But I don't see any way that that other than being in one of the lower levels of hell fighting demons, that your magazine-fed shotgun would ever reach any temperatures hot enough to melt the wax, which has a melting point of about 175 degrees Fahrenheit. If you could touch your gun, you can shoot wax out of it. If you can't touch your gun, Once again, you should probably send that gun to me so I can check it out for you. And once again, it may take me a while. I might have to spend a couple years with it. And when I finally get my analysis and report together, I will send it back to you in 2 or 3 years. Okay. What else? Oh yeah. Why not just make Lee slugs? I love slugs. I have boxes and boxes of slugs. Before I made waxers, I shot slugs almost exclusively. I'm not real big on buckshot. I understand the purpose of buckshot, and I understand why it would be effective. But I really prize my marksmanship. What can I say? I know that I may not have demonstrated it in some of my videos recently, but I actually can hit things with a slug at about 100 yards with my shotgun. And it's just an unrifled, lopped off rim choke that's lopped off to 8.5 inches. It's like an open cylinder. It doesn't even have a choke on the end, nothing. So shooting buck out of it, I get a pretty big spread, and I'm not real happy with that. But when I shoot slugs, I can land them right on the target. So I really do like lead slugs. They're one of my favorite shotgun rounds, and I have boxes of them. But that said, slugs have their place. Okay, they're for reaching out and touching something at an extreme range. That's really what I feel. Or they're for penetrating through multiple objects to get at your threat. If you needed to shoot right through the sofa and get the bad guy who's hiding behind the sofa, or if you needed to shoot through a wall and get somebody that was on the other side of a wall, or if you needed to blow holes through cinder block, for instance, to get a shot at somebody that's inside of a cinder block, home, that was shooting back at you, that was a threat, that was a criminal that was trying to hurt you. I mean, I can't imagine the scenarios that you would need these things, okay, because I've never come up across these things myself. I imagine maybe law enforcement, military, or perhaps, once again, if you were fighting a horde of demons, a lower level of hell, you would definitely want slugs. But for home defense, I'm not entirely sure if slugs are the way to go unless you know exactly what is on the other side of that wall, and you know that there's nobody there except the person you want to kill, because it's going to go through a wall like nothing. It'll blow right through drywall, right through studs. I've shot through 6 6x6s. It goes right through them. A slug will go right through a 6x6 piece of pine, no problem. So you can imagine it will go through a piece of drywall and out the other side of another piece of drywall like nothing. As a matter of fact, I think like right now in my house right here, okay, I've got drywall, I've got some insulation, I've got some OSB, and I've got some Tyvek, and then I've got some vinyl siding. If I were to shoot my 12 gauge slug at this wall right now, it would make a hole right through it, and I would be able to see the outside, and it would just keep on trucking for quite a while. You could probably kill somebody on the other side of this wall from me shooting inside my house, shooting outside my house. That's the kind of penetration that slugs give you, especially, like a 2 3/4 inch Foster slug. Now, I'm not sure if game loads with Lee slugs have as much penetration, but I have seen videos here on YouTube with guys shooting Lee slugs, and they go through 6 water jugs. They go through a water jug that's packed with newspaper, wet newspaper, and then they go through 5 more milk jugs. We're talking about 1-gallon jugs, going through 6 of them, just trucking right through it. That's a Lee slug shot out of a heavy game load. So, if you want penetration and you want range, you want a slug. Now, if you want a very hard-hitting round that's 1/5 the cost of a slug, okay? I'm not saying 1/5 the cost of a Lee slug. I'm just saying like 1/5 the cost of a Foster slug. You would probably want to mix birdshot with hot glue or wax, and you get an extremely hard-hitting round that does not have as much penetration. And according to my ballistic tests, what I've what I've determined is that wax, it has good penetration, but once it reaches a certain terminal velocity where it just sort of the resistance of the medium and the forward momentum of the slug kind of equalize, there's an equilibrium, that's when you get a massive cavity expansion. Now I know that a slug ripping through ballistic gel is amazing. It leaves like a 3-inch wound channel, but it just keeps on going basically. And Foster slugs don't even deform. They don't even mushroom. You know, if you recover you can look at TN Outdoors, his tests. He recovers Brennecke Black Magics. He recovers Foster slugs, and they have not even deformed. You have to hit something hard like a cinder block for it to deform. When wax enters a medium, it, depending on the wax, now I'm talking about my wax stays together and holds everything together until it gets to that equilibrium point. At that point, it blows apart and it makes a nice big cavity. So you get a decent sized wound channel and then you get a big cavity. I think it's pretty much ideal for its intended purposes if you're using it for home defense. It will go right through a wall, but the amount of force that it has once it goes through the wall is not as great as a slug. It's not going to have the same penetration, but if it hits a ballistic medium like a torso of a human, it's going to go inside, create a massive wound channel, and then expand and blow out the backside of it. It's not going to keep on trucking through that person and through another person and through another person, or through that person and through a wall and into a loved one or something like that. That's why I really like waxers. That's why I got so excited by them when I found out about them. I was like, wow, not only is this a inexpensive round, it's a really effective round. I mean, it's not a joke. It's not a novelty. It's not something that, you just, hey, I'll take this to the range and show people how cool this is. To my mind, it is a very effective round, and if it's made properly and safely, using, I don't mean to always be pimping my products, but I came up with this wax specifically to make safe loads, right, for myself, because I have 2 kids. I don't want to blow myself up. I don't want to blow my shotgun up. So I wanted to make the safest possible waxers I could. That's why I came up with all this stuff. And I feel that waxers, regardless of whether you use my wax or you use candle wax or crayon wax or whatever, a waxer's ballistic effect is way different than buckshot. It's way different than birdshot. It's way different than a slug. The closest thing I can think that it's analogous to is a breaching round. Of course, it's not a breaching round, okay, because breaching rounds are made of usually compressed metal powders. Not all of them. There's many, many different kinds of breaching rounds, but the kind of breaching rounds most people are thinking about for blowing the lock off a door or something that, without hurting somebody inside the building, okay, they're made with basically compressed metal powder. And obviously, you're not using powder. You're using number 7 or 7.5 or number 8 shot, right? So yes, there's going to be a spray of shot. When that thing hits something, shot is going to spray. But as we all know, from Dick Cheney peppering his buddy there, shooting birds, that being peppered by bird shot is not the end of your life. It may disfigure you, it may scar you, it may cause some lacerations, it may cause some wounds, some minor blood loss. If it hits you in the face, it could blind you. I'm not saying it's harmless by any means, but a spray of birdshot is certainly not like being hit with 9 .38 caliber balls that have just been fired, like for instance from buckshot. And it's certainly not like being hit by a .74 diameter or whatever 1 ounce or 1 1/8 ounce or 1 1/4 ounce lead slug. It's not at all like that. You're talking about a bunch of tiny little pellets that are all bonded together with wax, and when they impact something hard enough to break them apart, they deliver all of that energy, and then that energy is rapidly dissipated. Uh, you could see that I had no problem with getting very close to something and shooting it. I wasn't worried about splatterback. I wasn't worried about anything happening to me. I've done this many, many times. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think it was safe. So I'm hoping that this answers some of the questions people might have about waxers. I don't mean to ramble on forever, but it does come up a lot, and I'm always kind of surprised that a lot of the same questions keep being asked, because many people have addressed this. Tough Later Mouse has addressed this. Iraqi veteran 888 has addressed this. These are big names. These are guys with huge followings. Not some little guy like me with 3,100 subs or whatever. You're talking about people with massive followings. That just hang on every word they have to say. So, they say it, I say it. These waxers are very potent rounds. I don't think of them as novelty rounds. And I think the reason that a lot of people thought of them as novelty rounds is because they were using candle wax or crayon wax, or that perhaps they were making odd loads where they weren't, thinking in terms of home defense, self-defense. They were just making, let's make a funny round, let's put something peculiar in here and see what it does. You just mix the shot with the wax, it sticks it all together, and my wax is sticky, it's tacky, it's pliable, it has a high melting point, it doesn't shrink, it clings to the inside of the hull. So in my mind, it has all the characteristics I'm looking for. Okay, I want the shot to be held together until it reaches equilibrium in the medium, and then I want it to totally expand and blow up. And when I've recovered my loads from there, there's still usually a pretty good, like a third to a half of the mass is all still a waxy blob with a bunch of pellets in it, and then there'll be a bunch of chunks of wax and pellet in the cavity of the medium. So I just wanted to share this with everybody, and I'm not saying I'm some sort of expert. I'm certainly not TN Outdoors. I don't have some Tim Test media out there, and I definitely do not have a Sasquatch full body suit. But I do shoot buttload of waxers. I've shot well over 1,000 of these through my own shotgun with no problem whatsoever. The only time I ever had problems with these was when I was very new to it, and I was using candle wax, and then I tried crayon wax, and I was not happy at all with those. I was getting a lot of loose loads, and I was really concerned that was with one of those slipping down my barrel and causing a problem. And that's why I developed my wax. And it's also why I developed my shell prepper, so that it leaves the crimp intact and traps the power piston cup assembly. And I do these things for my own safety and to make it safer for everyone else. And that's the whole purpose of why I do this, because I really do think it's an excellent idea. I think it's an awesome thing to be able to buy a box of 100 shot shells for about $26 at Walmart. And then, you're talking 26 cents a shot, and then you add in like $1.50 to that to make 25 waxers, and you've got something that you can store in a box, and you can come back to 5 years later, and they'll still be good. You can still shoot them. You don't have to worry about them melting or deforming or getting lopsided or running out into the package or whatever. Unless you store them someplace that gets over 175 degrees Fahrenheit and they liquefy. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that was edifying to you guys. Hope that answered a few questions that people may have about this. In general, I consider waxers to be a safe and effective round, similar to a breaching round. People call them wax slugs. I don't think it's really like a slug at all. It does have some of the penetration of a slug, but certainly not like a Foster slug. It does not have the range of a slug. It doesn't even have the range of buckshot accurately. I think anything past about 30 yards, I really think you're stretching it, because they start to spiral. They start to tumble and spiral. They're not rifled. There's no spin to stabilize it, and it's going to tumble end for end. Now, there's various little tricks you can do to try and make it more stable. You can make one end lighter and one end heavier, and things like that. Maybe if you shot it out of a rifled barrel, it might impart some spin to the whole assembly. But in general, they are not ballistically stable past, I don't think, past, about 30 yards is about it. Now, I have shot them in extreme ranges. I've shot my waxers out to 100 yards, and after 5 or 6 shots, I can hit a milk jug. But it's not something that I would use to take game. It's not something that I would expect pinpoint accuracy with. You really would want to use these at much closer range, I think. You know, anywhere from about 12 inches to maybe 50 feet, 75 feet, something like that. Nothing crazy. Hope that helps, guys. Hope that edifies you guys. That's just my personal experience as somebody who shot literally over 1,000 of these. No residue in the gun, doesn't cause any real problems loading or feeding or ejecting. I think the reason I have problems with ejection sometimes is my own technique, and also because I have not cleaned my shotgun in a long time. I haven't cleaned or lubed it. I just shoot it, and that's why I love 870s. They're kind of like the AK of pump shotguns. They, you can throw them in the dirt. You can be soaking wet, whatever. You pick it up, you shuck it, you fire it. So that's about all I had to say about that, guys, and I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. It's apparently going to be wicked weather coming our way. We're talking about a blizzard, some crazy weather patterns or something here, and so I'm going to try and enjoy what I can of this weekend before it gets really gnarly out there. And I look forward to hearing your comments and your input. And if you guys have any questions that I have not already covered with my ramble here, please post them in the comments, or you can even send me a message here on YouTube. Thanks a lot, guys, and thanks for watching. Now, lock and load.